Hello, and welcome to BioNexus Health Autism Uprooted podcast series. Many parents across the globe have requested me to share stories of hope and light from other parents in my practice that are seeing tremendous success with their children diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum or having autism spectrum disorders. You will hear from many brilliant, well-researched, and generous parents that are sharing their stories of whatever success they have achieved with their children on the spectrum.
Welcome to the BioNexus Health podcast with Dr. Jodie Dashore, who holds a Ph.D. in Integrative Medicine, a doctorate in OT, specializing in Neurology, is board certified in Integrative Pediatrics, an internationally recognized pioneering clinician, registered herbalist with the American Herbalist Guild, and author. Her naturopathic journey began when her son, who was diagnosed with autism, developed a series of traumatic, life-threatening chronic health issues. For over a decade, she's honed her skills to combine the ancient Ayurvedic healing practices of her homeland with Western herbal medicine that has helped patients in over 50 countries and recovered her son, who is on his own journey towards becoming a physician.
And now here's your host of BioNexus Health podcast series Autism Uprooted, Dr. Jodie Dashore.
The focus is going to be on herbal medicine, not necessarily BioNexus Health protocols, but it's important to understand that the focus is on herbal medicine in general. There are so many gifted herbalists around the world, and herbs that are indigenous to that particular region, particular country, can sometimes be the most valuable allies in recovery from toxins, from infections, from various triggers. We all know, well, not all, but many know that recent research, recent studies show us that children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders can often have underlying issues with immune disruption, with other comorbid conditions, certain viral bacterial infections, certain environmental toxins as well. And often once all of these are addressed, tremendous gains in behavior and other symptoms of autism are observed. The attempt of this podcast series is to highlight those underlying comorbid issues and to speak to parents who have been able to look at the root causes and have seen good success with their children on the spectrum.
Thank you for joining Master Herbalist Dr. Jodie Dashore, Director of the BioNexus Health Clinic and BioNexus Herbals, on the BioNexus Health podcast, where we explore and share information and stories about recovering and healing from chronic and environmental illnesses such as mold biotoxin illness, Lyme disease, autism spectrum disorder, fatigue, Crohn's and colitis, mast cell activation syndrome, PANS, and more. Please help us grow our message by subscribing to our podcast channel and sharing the podcast on your social networks. For more information, visit bionexushealth.com.
Information within this video, audio, or text, collectively known as the podcast, has not been reviewed by the FDA. Nothing within the podcast is intended as or should be construed as medical advice. Information is for general informational and educational purposes only. Consumers of the podcast should consult with their healthcare practitioners for medical recommendations. Seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider. Do not disregard the advice of a healthcare provider based on any information from the podcast. The information within the podcast may contain information concerning dietary supplements or over-the-counter products that are not drugged. Our dietary supplement products are not intended for use as a means to cure, treat, prevent, diagnose, or mitigate any disease or other medical or abnormal condition.